In the depths of the forest, where the sunlight fades through the branches, dwell the satyrs, half-man, half-goat creatures with an insatiable appetite for pleasure and music. Their wild presence permeates Roman mythology, leaving a trail of captivating and disturbing stories. Dare you to venture into the forest and discover the secrets of the satyrs? In ancient Greece's lush forests and rolling valleys where nymphs danced and fauns played their melodies, a peculiar race was born, the satyrs. Half man, half animal, these beings defied the conventions of nature. With robust bodies, goat hooves, and twisted horns, they represented the very essence of vitality and debauchery. According to legend, the satyrs were spawned by the union between Dionysus, the god of wine, and Hermes, the winged messenger of the gods. This divine offspring gave them a unique nature, combining the sensuality and unbridled passion of Dionysus with the cunning and mischief of Hermes. In the forest glades, the first satyrs took their first breath of fresh air. Their horns, still tender, began to curve upward, and their hooves struck the ground with a particular rhythm. From the moment of their birth, these beings were destined to be different, to defy established norms, and to celebrate life in its purest form. The satyrs grew up surrounded by the beauty of nature, learning to love every corner of the forest. They listened to the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the flowing of crystal-clear streams. These sounds were engraved in their hearts, becoming the melody that would guide their steps through life. "Listen, little satyr," said an elderly faun, bending down to one of the newborns. "Listen carefully to the heartbeat of the earth. She will teach you to dance to the rhythm of life itself, just as your divine parents did." As the satyrs matured, their dual nature began to manifest. Their muscular and vigorous bodies allowed them to run along the forest paths with enviable agility, while their human features gave them an innate intelligence and curiosity, an inheritance from Hermes. However, what distinguished the satyrs was their free and indomitable spirit, a legacy of Dionysus. They rejected restrictions and social conventions, preferring to immerse themselves in the simple pleasures of life, dancing, music, and unbridled celebration. The satyrs found their place in the retinue of the god of wine, Dionysus. They became his faithful followers, joining in the riotous celebrations and orgies that honored the god. With their raucous laughter and frenzied dancing, the satyrs embodied the spirit of indulgence and freedom from social restraints. The union between Dionysus and the satyrs was natural and profound, as if they were destined to walk together from the beginning. The god of wine recognized in them the same passion for life and the same desire to abandon the restrictions that he professed. "Come to me, creatures of the forest," exclaimed Dionysus, extending his arms in welcome. "Together, we will celebrate the beauty of existence without fear or inhibitions." The satyrs enthusiastically responded to the call, joining the processions in honor of the god. Their melodies mingled with the laughter and singing of the maenads, the female followers of Dionysus, creating a symphony of ecstasy and liberation. At the Dionysian festivals, the satyrs were the first to dance around the fire, waving their goatskins and clanging their cymbals. Their bodies moved to the rhythm of the music, expressing the wild joy that dwelled in their hearts. "Satyr brothers," cried Dionysus, raising a cup overflowing with wine, "let us drink until we are drunk with the essence of life itself." The satyrs welcomed the god's words with glee, drinking without moderation and indulging in the pleasures of the flesh. In these celebrations, there was no room for inhibition or shame, only for total abandonment of the most primitive impulses. But the satyrs were not only party companions, they were also guardians and protectors of Dionysus. When the god was threatened by those who rejected his worship, the satyrs would rise to his defense, wielding their thyrsus and fighting with unparalleled ferocity. On one occasion, a group of pirates tried to kidnap Dionysus, believing him to be a mere mortal. The satyrs, alerted by the cries of the god, came to his aid, leaping from the cliffs and falling upon the evildoers with savage fury. "No one touches our lord," roared one of the satyrs, unloading his thyrsus on the head of a pirate. "They will feel the wrath of the sons of the forest." After the battle, Dionysus embraced his faithful followers, grateful for their unwavering loyalty. Together, the god and the satyrs continued on their way, bringing celebration and rejoicing to every corner of the earth. The satyrs were masters of music, capable of plucking notes that seemed to spring directly from the earth itself. Their fingers moved deftly over the strings of lyres, while their lips blew into flutes with a skill acquired from birth. "Listen, creatures of the forest," exclaimed a bushy, bearded satyr, raising his flute. "Let our music be the thread that binds us together in an endless dance." At his signal, the other satyrs began to play their instruments, creating a symphony that echoed through the trees. The notes flowed like a crystalline stream, inviting all to plunge into its current. Even the fauns, normally shy creatures, were swept away by the contagious energy of the satyrs. They abandoned their reserve and joined the dance, letting the music lead them into a frenzy of jubilation. The satyrs were not only accomplished musicians, but also masters in the art of celebration. When night fell, they would light great bonfires in the forest glades, inviting all to join in their festivities. These festivities were not only an escape from social norms, but also a way of paying homage to nature itself. The satyrs celebrated the beauty of the forests, mountains, and streams, thanking the gods for the gifts bestowed upon them. Although they were merry, fun-loving creatures, satyrs also had a lustful side. They often pursued the beautiful nymphs, trying to seduce them with their rustic charms. These chases resulted in thrilling races through forests and streams, where the nymphs would dodge the satyrs' advances with cunning and grace. On one occasion, the nymph Euterpe, the muse of music, became the object of desire of a group of satyrs. While playing her flute by a crystal-clear stream, the satyrs spotted her and were captivated by her ethereal beauty. "Look at her, brothers!" exclaimed one of the satyrs, pointing to Euterpe. "She is the very embodiment of harmony. We must have her." Without warning, the satyrs jumped out of their hiding places, chasing the nymph through the forest. Euterpe, alarmed, dropped her flute and fled, relying on her agility to escape her pursuers. "Help, goddess Diana," cried Euterpe as she ran. "Protect me from these lustful satyrs." The nymph zigzagged through the trees, taking advantage of every shortcut and every hidden path to throw the satyrs off her trail. But these were persistent, and their burning desire drove them on relentlessly. Suddenly, Euterpe found herself cornered in a clearing with the satyrs closing ranks around her. In desperation, she raised her gaze skyward, imploring the protection of Diana, the virgin goddess of the hunt. In an instant, a beam of silvery light descended from the firmament, enveloping Euterpe in a blinding radiance. When the light faded, the nymph had disappeared, leaving only a white flower in her place. The satyrs, confused and frustrated, gazed at the flower with reverence. They had witnessed Diana's power, and though their desire still burned, they knew they had been defeated on this occasion. Thereafter, the story of Euterpe and her flight became a legend among the satyrs. Some said that the goddess Diana had transformed her into a flower to protect her, while others believed that she had taken her to her side as one of her slayers. From birth, satyrs were connected to the forces of the earth and the cycle of life. They learned to read the signs of the trees, interpret the song of the birds, and understand the language of the streams. This ancestral wisdom was passed down from generation to generation, becoming a priceless treasure. "Come here," young satyr said, an old man with a matted beard and twisted horns. "See how the roots of this oak intertwine with the earth, embracing it like a mother embraces her child." The younger satyrs listened attentively, absorbing every word as if it were a dewdrop on a spring morning. They learned to respect nature, to understand its cycle, and to live in harmony with it. "Do you see that hill?" asked a wise-looking satyr, pointing to an elevation covered with wildflowers. "There, so they say, dwells a herd of unicorns, pure and impalpable creatures that reveal themselves only to the purest of hearts. The younger satyrs listened with wild eyes, imagining the majestic unicorn strolling among the flowers. These stories not only entertained, but also conveyed lessons about the importance of humility, honesty, and respect for nature. But the wisdom of the satyrs was not limited to stories and legends. They also possessed a vast knowledge of the herbs and healing plants that grew in the forest. They could prepare ointments and potions to heal wounds, relieve pain, and fight disease. "Take these yarrow leaves and chew them," instructed a satyr to a faun who had sprained his ankle. "They will relieve pain and speed healing." Satyrs were respected and consulted by other creatures of the forest who came to them for advice and remedies. Their wisdom gave them a special status, making them revered figures in the heart of nature. Despite their reputation as noisy and unrestrained beings, satyrs also appreciated moments of tranquility and contemplation. On occasion, they would sit quietly by a stream, listening to the murmur of the water and allowing the peace of the forest to envelop them. In these moments of stillness, the satyrs connected with the very essence of nature, allowing its wisdom to flow through them like an inexhaustible spring. Even today, satyrs remain an important presence in art and culture. Their images adorn fountains and sculptures. Their legacy endures as an emblem of the free spirit and connection with nature. Over the centuries, satyrs have captured the imagination of artists, poets, and writers. Their figures have been carved in marble, captured on canvas, and described in epic verse, making them icons of Western culture. But the legacy of the satyrs is not limited to the artistic realm. It has also influenced literature and philosophy, inspiring authors and thinkers to explore the themes of freedom, passion, and connection with nature. In classical works such as those of Ovid and Plutarch, satyrs are portrayed as beings who defy social conventions, embracing a life of indulgence and debauchery. The stories of satyrs were passed down from generation to generation, fascinating and terrifying in equal parts. Although these creatures no longer inhabit our forests, their legacy remains in folklore and legends, representing the duality of nature, beautiful and wild at the same time. This video was created for the Labyrinth of Crete. See you on a new adventure.